Question is from Dan Beam. Dan is a 23-year Teamster of Local 554 in Omaha, Nebraska. He works for Highland Dairy there. He has a question about pension protection, specifically BLA from CS Active perspective.
Sure. And
where is our audience member? Luke. Dan?
I've been called worse than damn. I'm a Teamster with Local 554. I'm honored to be here today with my union brothers and sisters. I'm 58 years old and was born and raised in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I still live there. I've been employed in a dairy processing plant for the last 23 years. I joined the Teamsters Union as soon as I was eligible. I've forgone pay raises in contracts to receive increased contributions to my retirement fund. I've hoped to retire at age 62, a short 4 years from now. As you know, the Central States Pension Fund is projected to be insolvent at about the same time. I have no desire to work until I die, and I'm certain the other 400,000 active and retired workers who have invested in the Central States Pension Fund feel the same way. My question is, what is your plan to address the pension crisis and restore retirement security for American workers?
Thank you. So the bottom line is that you deserve to know that the promise made to you will be kept, because that was a two-way promise. As you said, often there was a trade-off between a pay raise and putting into the pension, which means it ought to be there for you, and that's not about doing you a favor, that's about keeping a promise. Now, right now, the Butch-Lewis Act has been designed to make sure that we secure and support multi-employer pensions, and I support that legislation. I also support the broader idea that our country has a responsibility to make sure that everyone can retire with security. Even for those who are not fortunate enough to be represented by a strong union and to have the benefits of some of those negotiated pension plans, we have to begin by making sure that Social Security is there for all of us. And this president talked a lot about caring about Social Security, only to turn around and have a budget that took funds away from it. That's unacceptable. And don't listen to anybody who says that there's no way to keep Social Security solvent without cuts. It's just not true. As long as we're willing to raise revenue by things like collecting those payroll tax dollars past $250,000 incomes and up. If we do that, and a couple other tweaks that do not involve cutting benefits, then the Social Security fund will at least be solvent to where I'm planning on collecting on it and beyond. So we got to do that. I also believe we ought to set up a public option 401k in the United States, eligible for everybody to participate. Healthcare is not the only place where a public option could do a lot of good. And so we're proposing at any employer you would be able to get it. It probably won't be as strong as the pension program you're participating in that we must protect. But for those not as fortunate, we got to make sure that we create another alternative, and we would have employers matching 2-to-1 what employees put in. The last thing I want to mention, just as we contemplate more and more Americans retiring and aging into the need eventually for long-term care, is that we have got to do something about long-term care in this country. I remember a conversation with a social worker in the hospital when my dad became ill. And the social worker explaining to my mom at a period when we thought that he might need long-term care, that the best answer would be to spend herself into poverty so that we would qualify, family would qualify for Medicaid. And thinking, is that how things work in the United States of America? So I'm proposing Long-Term Care America, a cash benefit for anyone who is eligible, who needs those expenses covered, $90 a day, which would go a big part of the way toward the cost of long-term care, and making sure that we continue to enhance opportunities for care and aging in home and not just in institutions, which Medicaid and Medicare often push folks into. So I know that's a long way from your horizon, but I just wanted to mention it as another retirement-related thing that deserves to be taken seriously, in addition, of course, ending where we began, to making sure that multi-employer pensions are secure and rock solid for the future. Next.